was beautiful. My name is Jessica Holyfield, and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we're to be taking a look at a Patreon request. Shout out to Chris for the request. This is Astro's All Night. I have seen one other Astro track, and it was very enjoyable for what it was, and I'm excited to take a look at this one. We're going to have a dance practice, a performance version, and a music video to look at, so let's go ahead and get started. Cute. That's fun. Oh. Wow. Oh. Wow. We're turning this up. Let's come on. It has some cheesy moments in it, but it's like, oh, I love that. But it's not coming across as like sexual sensual. It's coming across as like an angsty tease. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Ugh. I do have something important to say at the end of this, but I have to verify. I gotta see how the rest of the format turns out. But I have a huge compliment to give to the choreographer based on how this finishes. Nice. I love that with a little, what a vibe. Way to go, boys, for this. Lean with it, rock with it. Oh, that wave was beautiful. Such a good night. Ah, that was giving such a vampire vibe. Whoa. Yes. That was wonderful. Okay. love it. Like, thank God. They must be tired. Yeah. What? Oh, cute. So cute. Okay, shout out to the choreographer for this, because it's what's so fresh on my mind right now is I had just taken a look at it. Oh my gosh, Heya by Ive. And I like a lot of elements within it, but a really big underlying factor, and they are also a group of 6. So this is why I'm saying this the way that it is so fitting, is because everything that I was referencing as a really big note to the actual choreographic structure of the routine was a lot of the choreography, or the formations were not really catered, a lot of them, to the fact that the group was an even number. But in this case, there was very rare any time at all in this particular choreography where it felt like, that formation feels like we're missing someone, you know, and that's what was making me melt, is because I've literally just come off of like an hour analysis with that choreo for various different reasons. So I highly implore you check that out if you haven't, because it's very interesting, kind of the parallels that we're going to be subconsciously exploring with this. Yes, this is a boy group. Ive is a girl group. What I was talking about note-wise has nothing to do with the styles that they're representing, but the toolkit and structure in which the choreography is showcased on a K-pop group. You can showcase good levels. You can showcase dynamics. You can showcase different formations based on the type of group that you have. And I really think that this is a prime example of utilizing an even number, but making it feel like the choreography was made for the number that we have. It doesn't feel like, oh, we'll put this formation together. Yes, it's going to feel a little bit off balance, but we'll just have a good time, good vibes. You don't want the general public, because remember, this is only my second video of Astro. I don't know how many members there are, and yes, I do know enough now of like one of the members is no longer with us, so they are operating as a group of 5 at this point in time. But if I was watching this in the prime time and I'm looking, they don't say how many people are a part of Astro, and I normally don't know whenever I watch something for the first time. I go and look. The formations provide that context, and how the choreography is showcased in the line distribution and things like that. And in this case, it's very clear that we are operating with 6 people, and the formations and the choreography is structured to be so. So I get a double thumbs up for this choreographer, the movement director, the whole team, not just the choreographer, but the people who clean the choreo, whether it's the members or there's somebody outside that comes in and does it, or in-house, but also the movement director. So how are they cinematically shooting it in the music video context, which is what we're about to watch, but we also have a performance version, so I'm excited to see the movement. But that was phenomenal on a full cam one take. That was incredible. And I know a lot of that may stem from the fact that I'm just naturally more sensitive to the formations because I was talking about it extensively, maybe a little too much, and I apologize for that in the previous analysis I had just done. But we're going to take a look at the performance version. How did they shoot this? I'm very excited. Way to go. You see there's a mirror, or like the type of door. You can see their reflection. So good job on whoever's shooting it or whoever did post-production. You're not seeing them in that camera shot. Very well done. Nice. I love the venue. It does give me a little Dreamcatcher vibes, because there's a track from Dreamcatcher in the music video where they have that type of scenery. Was it Deja Vu? Reminds me of that, but in a great way. I love the environment. Ooh. Nice. That move can come across awkward, but they don't look awkward at all. So that's what makes it so captivating too. Wow. Ooh, I love that. I'm also a fan that everyone's in a different type of material in their jackets, but it's different pastels, and their hair colors are different pastels too. This is really cool on a stylistic standpoint. I also like the fact that we're hanging out in the same venue, just different cuts. Woo! Chris, you're awesome. Thank you for recommending this. We all have to say thank you to Chris in the comments. This is so fun. So enjoyable to watch. Ooh. Oh, and they lowered it every time. Oh, they zoomed in that time. I did have a feeling it was him who did that. Oh, we've changed our outfits. This is the after hours vibe is what this looks like. Such interesting floor work choices too. Those are really hard choices to get everybody on the same page if you don't have the discipline to clean effectively for your group. Wow. Now it gives me a little Law, you know, from Street Man Fighter, Wu-Tai's choreo. It kind of feels that vibe a little bit, but just different venue. Which I don't mind. This is great. Nice. I loved it just as much as the dance practice, but if I'm honest, I'm just so enamored by the beauty of seeing it in that one take, and it's that degree of cleanliness. It just makes you just love it. Okay, music video right here. I got my subtitles on. Let's figure out what this track is about. I'm ready. It's 2019 as well, so it was about 5 years ago. We are on the phone. I was assuming we were going to have some phone imagery in play. Gorgeous. I see why they used the filters they did. It feels like a dream almost. God, I love that. Wow. Cellophone? Reminds me of a cellophane from Chicago. Waiting for your call. Oh, that was good. Pressing the button, sending now. Oh, I like the way you look in my mind. Those are really cool contact choices. Like my habit, my hands remember your phone number. Wow. You must have really liked them if you memorized their phone number. Ooh. such an earworm, man. Oh, they're happy. Woo. Oh. You make my whole heart throb. So yeah, absolutely. Looking at the lyricism, there's like a little bit of angst. We're having to work through we have to work through patience. That's hard when you like someone and you want them to initiate, is kind of what this sounds like here. One last time. Call me now. I don't have y'all's phone number, but also it is late where I am. So I don't know if that would be the smart move either, but it would be afternoon where you are. Let's call in all night. I want to hear the whole night is just your voice. Well, I do have a YouTube channel where you can listen to my analytics and my soothing voice for hours. I also have a Patreon where you can watch even more of my voice. But anyway, I really enjoyed that. It feels, I don't know, I'm definitely a fan of it for sure. Let me see. All night rap making, composed, cool. LD and noise, way to go. I like the arrangement. Sounds great. Do they showcase who the choreographer is? I mean, I could probably go dig real quick. That'll be pretty easy on my end, but I really, oh, and I like the little, of course, with the phone. But yeah, let me go see who choreographed this. Okay, so I looked. Kwon Jae-sung, as I believe would be the choreographer for All Night. That, I mean, dude, love it. I really, really love this because I was able to get the intention of the concept through the choreography without looking at the visual. And I'm very, I mean, that means we had some really good, like, collaboration success, you know? Now, are all choreographies like that? No. But I am, as an individual and as a personal artist, I try to strive within my particular scope to try to relate movement to music and teach my students how to build a toolkit in that way. So I focus more on toolkit building than choreography retention or choreography competency. Those are really good tools if you want to be a professional dancer for sure. But a lot of my dancers, I like them to be able to take toolkits that are relevant to life, and one of those things is being intentional with the music just as much as you are with the movement choices, and being able to justify those, because even if somebody doesn't agree with you, you can justify your own perspective to have enough confidence in your own voice as an artist, because that's a lot of times we want to have validation with other people in our lives, you know, or like having validation from the public of they're the reason why my stuff is good, not because I think I believe in it. I want them to be able to have that confidence for themselves. So all that to say, I really feel that this collaboration or the beauty of the choreography matches the music so beautifully to where you can understand the underlying tone without having to have a visual to provide it. The visual feels like it's like icing on the cake for me, but this choreography is so fitting. It really is. I love it. So we're gonna have lots of fun talking about this. Here we go. Firstly, of course, love the formation choice. It's going to be talking your ear off about that. Like I said, from my saturation of what I was used to seeing before this. So notice that you have somebody already laying down. They start the peel. Great usage of core to make sure that they're all executing at the same rate. You have to make sure that core is in check. If you just fall back, you're going to fall back without any control. And it needs to look like they're all falling asleep in how they lay down. They're going to make sure that their head is the last thing that touches, you know, and it also feels like they're kind of cushioning each other's heads, which I really like, which means they have great spacing. The fact that I can clearly see that everyone's hand is at around the same part of the upper body. I think that's really cool. And then I love the opposition of whoever was already laying down. they naturally come back up. I love that because it started the peel from this side, travels it over. Then you have your feature, just movement and just the sheer opposition. And he's also facing the opposite way. It's very captivating and very intriguing. It draws you in. It makes you go, what is he about to do? And what he does a very simple, just legato, more breathy accent. And it's not really stiff or anything. When you hear the piano, it has this dreamy feel about it, a lot of reverb placed into it, or a lot of synth modification. I am learning more about the production side of things so I can be more accurate with my terminology. So I apologize if you're in sound production and I was incorrect with that particular timbre justification. I digress. Anyway, the overall aesthetic of that sound sounds very dreamy. And of course, we have a visual to represent that in the music video and in the performance take. But notice in the movement, it allows some sense of breath behind it because it feels, when you're in a dream world, everything has like a squishiness about it. You think about the clouds, you think, like a little thinking bubble. Everything has a softer edge to it. So playing a note with a little bit of softness in the accent versus something really harsh is going to justify that timbre very effectively. When I say timbre, I mean sound context. So how a sound sounds, where does it come from? What is the source of the sound, not just what we're hearing, why are we hearing it or how are we hearing it? Those little things. And timbre plays a huge role. Just so much just in that very, very simple beginning. From here, they take that leg, they drag it up really nice and clear. All of them, I believe they all stop probably either at the knee or right above the knee, starting at the thigh, because everybody's knees are nice and in line and you can tell the foot is connected to the leg. That's a really clean and clear way to make sure everyone's on the same page instead of having spacing between the leg that came up and the leg that is out. And I like the fact that with our feature, he's looking over, engaging with what's going on, but a very natural way of doing so without taking away from the visual we just saw. Oh, and how they got up, very interesting. I was expecting, and here's the thing, I've already watched it twice, right? 3 if you count the music video. But in this case, notice how they come up. Normally when you see people come up, they come up around similarly as how they went down. But in this case, they actually come up and they allow that left shoulder to play more of a role of coming up a little bit more expedited, in allowing this right one to create a potential trace of the floor or connection to the floor, and where they're looking justifies that choice, because if they're looking up, it's going to have a different pull of the source of the chest. But if you notice them looking over at the hand, it allows us to want to also see what's going on with the hand. They're showing us through our, like, whenever you look at somebody looking somewhere, we naturally want to know what's going on that side too, right? So I very much appreciate what's going on in the terms of their intention with where they're looking. That makes one heck of a difference, as you can see just in this intro. We're going to be here for such a long time, and I hope you're okay with that. I am very excited to talk about this choreography, and I love this little accent once again happening from our first. It's more of a visual dance feature than a vocal feature. I think that's fine. From there, they have to place their weight more towards the back of the forearm, close to the elbow, in order to create some sense of leverage, but they don't want to put so much on the elbow to where you can cause pain and strain. So I like the fact that we have it catered more towards the back. They lift it up, rotate the wrist, still creating a breathiness to justify the first feature, and we still hear it. It's still very ethereal in nature. Love that choice. They take it and they fold it down. As soon as they fold it down, golly, there's a lot of, not tension, but the breath and the range of the breath is very well done. I personally, out of the 2 that I've seen, I love this one because of just the connection I'm seeing. And there is, I personally feel, we'll verify it through watching and analyzing. I personally think this one is more difficult to get everybody on the same page on the unison sections in comparison to the first one I looked at. I can't remember what the name of it was, so I'm so sorry for that. But Chris also, I believe, recommended that as well. But yeah, I'm just so happy right now, Chris. I'm so happy. And I love this here where they go and they rotate. So you have your first 2. Well, actually, it ends up having your feature has now converted over into what my other 2 are doing, rotating. And they took a slower approach coming up to allow time for our 3 to swivel around, rotating, using, they have their weight on their bottom and they're using leverage of their arms to get them to turn around. So now we have a mirrored position with the usage of all of them. And I like the fact that we do technically have a center and it is split, but it is symmetrical with some sense of depth because of the diagonal that we have set up. We are only in the first 30 seconds, and this is a 5-minute endeavor. Technically, you've only really looked at 7 seconds of this. Right here. Wet done. So that was really nice. I think this is moving. right? So I like for him, he had a nice subtlety of his hands before everybody accented out with the legs. The beauty of being clean, like known for synchronicity and showcasing competency and synchronicity, is whenever you have a feature like what just happened here, you notice how subtle his hands were, but it was so clear to know exactly where we were looking because of how they established competency of unison, or the dynamics that they showcased. That peel was so beautiful, that ripple was beautiful, and it allowed us to know there's a reason why he deviated the way that he did, because we were already captivated by how in tune they are from their feature to everybody else. And that is incredible on tone setting. Remember, this is only my second analysis I'm doing of the group, but I am so enamored at this. This is wonderful. The subtlety of the leg shifts here. You can tell with our first feature, he did progress his leg shift a little bit faster, but because he's the feature, I think having some sense of extra modification, progression, something along those lines, I think is totally fine, because they're technically operating polyrhythmically, meaning that they're hitting multiple rhythms at the same time. He's hitting the vocals, but also has to focus on what's going on in the backbeat. Everybody else just has to focus on whatever, sound level or whatever level of justification or tonal color they have to represent, So they are also polyrhythmic to some degree, but Mubin has a trickier position because he's still complementing what's going on with the rest of the group, but he himself is also singing to justify that as well in tone. They all take it, and I like the fact that we have our leg, nice and glued next to the leg that's fully extended, and they all take the energy and they're crossing over probably by, I think, near the back end of the forearms to kind of lower that head. I like that choice. That's so cool. Slowly comes up, dee 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 dee, and I love the tension here, boom, and then from here, we're starting, love that. So after this tension right here, really nice from everybody, and they're all pretty, I would consider this like equally yoked, right? I'm not talking about in the biblical sense, but I'm talking about in the sense of everybody holds it down to where I know people have told me who the main dancers are. They don't stand out, if that makes sense, in the degree, unless they are doing a dance feature. That's when it is appropriate to stand out. But the beauty is everybody's holding it down so well. They could go without titles and I would have no qualms with it, because everybody is holding it down in movement quality to where I can appreciate the entirety of the concept, not just one person holding it down, right? I love that. So notice that with one of my guys, he's able to accent or complement whatever Mubin just did, which was get up. That was really fun. And then he's walking through, and then you have the snap, and then you have our next two come up. And once again, it's kind of turned into a subtle little, it's like a ripple almost. Would we call it a canon? I wouldn't quite give it that. There's not enough sequence of movement to justify that. But you do notice with my back groups, they had a hand and my front group did not. So that was an interesting choice. I don't know if that was just one person or two people just coincidentally did it. But I know my guy right here in the pastel blue hair, he did not use any hand at all. And I could clearly see the difference because they're so clean, and everything else that normally are the things that showcase individuality. That's what I find intriguing about this too. I like the pickup too. Boom, and then from there we create energy to create a fun transition, bringing it through. And look, we still have levels represented. We started on the floor, and then now we're here at more of a, kneeled position. They take their hands. Of course, one of them is getting their not even less than a foot difference in the range on this. And then you have one of the features, I believe he was the one that was in the very beginning, is that Cha Eun-woo. I think I've seen him as an actor in some stuff. So it is cool to see him here in this way, and I love this wave. Gosh, I could melt all day watching waving, but I really like the fact that they connected the fingers, and we do see the connection of energy and how it shifts over. So I really like seeing that there. That looks great. And they take it, and I like that they're on a kneeling level, and you still have levels represented. That's a really good kind of go-to thing. I use it for my own. Like, ever since I started noticing it in these analysis, I've been trying to integrate it in my own work of when you see an even number, I try to figure out a way to at least try to find some sense of symmetry or balance in creative ways through usage of levels too. Like, that's been a really big thing I've been catching on, is that that's a really good way to loophole it, where you can still have a feature, but have levels showcase, but not technically lose anybody or anybody gets sacrificed, because we do end up seeing that quite a few times where somebody is hidden, you know, and the only people that could potentially be upset with that would be those if that was your bias. And I've talked about that every time I've brought it up, because it's true and it's valid, you know, but also it's duration. So how long are you hidden behind someone is always a big thing too. So as long as it's only for a couple counts, I don't see it as a big concern, but also I'm not a fan of any one group in these generations. So it's definitely something that I may not be able to empathize with right now in this moment, but that's okay. We're here to talk about the choreography and love it. I love this right here where he has the subtlety of this accent that he did earlier on, and they take it, boom, poof, speed change over. God, that's cool. And then they take it through, doom, doom, doom. They take it back, boom, boom. They hit the bass. Notice there was more of a staccato presence. There was a sense of accent and tension, but they have to engage the muscle groups a little bit more in order to create more power and fullness within it, outside of just the beauty of the breath of the accents that we've seen earlier. The snap, really great for my feature, lifting up and back down, but still feels very conversational. And then you have your guys, boom, boom, very nice and strong to match. They melt it through, love that. It helps match whatever they did earlier whenever they were hiding their head. So there's a lot of this type of internal vulnerability of energy where we're really looking within ourselves and we really can't handle whatever feelings we feel. Like it feels very much like we're doing a self-check almost, which I like. It's nice to slide through. I love this. He goes here. Great wordplay here. I don't quite know his exact words, but I do know it has something to do with eyes, or covering them or uncovering them. And I love that once again, we still have levels represented and we're showcasing a huge variety of circling and framing, but actually creating connection. And then you have him covering his eyes, and so it actually helps whenever others make contact with him in different positions, because it actually makes us feel more complimentary. It doesn't feel so isolated. It's very nice and subtle and a really great way to collaborate between your feature and the rest of the group. Everybody accents to the same direction, even if you're facing different ways. That's when everyone's dynamic or texture matches. So if you have somebody facing the back and somebody facing the front, and they all accent the same direction, you're taking the energy and you're collectively making the choice to push it a particular direction, right? And those are the type of moments I love because it reiterates exactly what I just said earlier, but in a different way. You have a feature and you have the rest of the group. It is technically a 1-point feature, but notice that everybody is just as much involved as the feature is. So he still naturally stands out, but he has an environmental justification of the energy that's being pushed in whatever, tone and lyricism that he presents. Oh my gosh. This is so wonderful to watch. I love the transition. They roll very seamless, bring it back in. I really appreciate everybody setting it up very well. And then one of our guys sets it up on the side. So you naturally look at him because he's the only one that's different. And I like the fact that everybody sets it up in the front, and then you had your feature that was just, contained by all the hands. He's now been able to join them here. It's so cool. So they go dee 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 dee, really nice, isolated, great choice to go da 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 right there on the lyricism, great, or the rhythm of the lyrics, cool. And then he has this nice vocal tone. They take it through. This is so nice. They go and they accent. So as soon as they make contact with something on the floor, that they go contact on the floor, it triggers another effect. So I love that choice. And then from right there, boom, they accent it up, and he also accents with, oh golly, I love this. I love this. And they go and they roll really nice. So they take it, notice that everybody's bending that left leg, keeping that right leg straight. It's those little details. It's not just roll over to your left side. It's you roll over to your left side, make sure your weight is properly placed on the left side, make sure it's bent to where you have that proper leverage. So when that right leg is up, or when it's swinging with your upper body, everyone's angle is going to be the same. Because if, let's say, you had this straight, you're going to have more core that's going to be, you're going to have a possible more bend that takes place in the torso. Also, where everyone's placing their weight, we have to be mindful of stacking. And stacking is similar to like Legos, but you think of it with the body. And we talk about this with handstands, funnily enough, where you have your hand and you want to make sure your wrist is stacked, your elbow is stacked, your shoulder is stacked. So you don't want things to topple over. You don't want things to be at an angle when things need to be nice and strong. So I appreciate the fact that we are stacked. That shoulder is right there over the wrist. So that's a really great way to make sure you're nice and strong and it feels locked in, which in some cases depends on what you're doing. That's a good way to stay stable. So I love the fact that I can talk about those things, because it's just, they're so competent. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. And then you have your feature that's up. He does a nice little turn, but he also does a nice shampoo of the arm just to make that a fun moment. They all roll. And honestly, it's how they punctuate the end of their movements. Like this right here, it's so interesting how they decided to finish. I love that, because normally you have people come up to a neutral position, but here they're still down like it's like a French model is what we would call it, you know, kind of like that. I know, sorry if you're French, it was just in America, whenever, it's just a little, it's like a little joke whenever you have people lay horizontal. It's like, oh, you're like one of those French models. It's kind of like what we say, but it's very complimentary, of course. But all that to say, even with the intention of the hands, notice they're probably catering more weight to that right elbow, and they're allowing, but they have to make sure that they don't have too much weight pressing into the forearm, so they can actually have both of them drop down at the same rate together. But they had to stop each other, like they had to stop. They use that elbow to help stop that roll. It's just the fact that they're propped up. You normally don't see that coming out of a roll like that. You normally see them neutralized, like what I was saying. So I love the fact that we have that, and it's a unison section for those 5. Whew. Whew, pop off. Let's go. I like that. So I like how they take it and they move it over. Looks great. And then right there, they go and they thread it through, and they allow the hand, even through the thread in the transition of a movement, which is range. That kind of stuff, a lot of people end up neglecting because of turnaround time, this, that, and the other. And I love the fact that we get to appreciate it here, because it just makes you want to melt, because they're committed 100% of the way, not 98.2, right? It's so dope. He's still featured, but it's so captivating what they're doing on the floor. I think there's beauty in both, but I like for here, he takes the hand and he pulls them up, and they're right here. Notice that they're not sinking their head down. They're a little bit more propped up, but still very intentional. They take it and they're about to do a bridge recover, but they went so fast they couldn't really touch on it. I always say when you do a bridge recover, if you're going to be leveraging the hinge of the hips, just be mindful of the turnout of the feet. You want to try to aim for parallel feet for that, because it helps with the alignment of the lower body, especially with the knees. So that would be my general note. I did notice some of them were turning out ever so slightly, and that's such a chronic thing with dancers in general. I just see it all the time. So it's something I always have to bring up. I see it in these cases. It's just a note, you know, for long-term health of the body is always something that I recommend there, but it's not going to falter what they do in this moment. Right here, they do a nice little barrel jump. Not everybody jump, but it could be a spacing thing. So in cases like this, it feels very logistic in the choice, not a he's incompetent of doing the barrel jump. For me, I think it really looked like he did not have room to do it, but he's still committed to the rotation. But that's technically the first obvious difference between what everybody's doing, you know? But he's also the feature, so it helps me justify the choice that he made in not doing it, so he can prep himself vocally to be able to project when he needs to and be in the spot he needs to be into. Now, this is technically the first time we're seeing a subtlety in the balance going on in the choreo. He is my feature. I could tell because of how he deviated from the barrel jump, but not only that, he is the furthest, like the closest one to us. But notice that the formation is still balanced and not quite symmetrical, because symmetry comes from it's, you know, your mirrors are exactly mirrored with each other. It's balanced because if I were to use this, it looks like their light stick on a stand is what that looks like, so I'm just going to assume that's what it is. If I draw a line, that's an ugly line, I'm so sorry, but I hope you understand. That's on my center. We have 3 people represented on one side and 3 represented on the other side, and we have a middle split. Now, it is easy to see who my feature is because of how they introduced him in context of movement. And that is in this case where I appreciate, if we're not going to go into symmetry, try to have balance. If you have balance, you can play around with your symmetry. Those are kind of little things that I think are really fun to navigate and explore. And sometimes choreographers like to purposely not be symmetrical, especially if it's on brand with the concept. I do believe Dreamcatcher had a concept where the choreographer purposely had all of the formations off center. And that was just so fascinating, you know? If a choreographer, like I said, goes back to the very beginning of what I said, if a choreographer has a toolkit and they have confidence behind the choices in their artistry, who's to critique that, right? There's beauty in art. And I love being in a position like this to where I can appreciate it and very clearly see that art be shown on display. This is not labor at all for me to try to figure out the right words to say. I am having an absolute blast being able to just go ham on the beauty of the cleanliness of this, but also the conceptual choreographic choices that are justified. Oh, it's so fun. Golly, this is fun. now we're actually in the chorus. Dee 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 dee. Notice that we da 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 da, like we're projecting, and it's very nice and syncopated in the tone, right? Or in how they're projecting the lyrics, right? So as they take the movement, it's a little bit choppier, or the range is faster, right? So we have a lot of this happening. Not quite snapped, but it's definitely more like windshield wipers on a stormy day in your car. It's like that, you know, it's just go, go, go. And it's hard to showcase shifts in texture, going from something really fast, usually to the back, and then creating a nice tense torso to create a sense of breathability or heartbeat to your choreo. You don't want it to plateau. You don't want it to be too chill too long. You also don't want it to be too hyped too long. You want to appreciate both in a healthy way. This showcases that. Dee dee dee. I love that with my feature. He does a nice little shampoo, but he does the same torso and justification with everybody. They dig it through body roll. They're also using the hip a little bit more on the secondary part. They're also using the twist, or even their foot placement. God, this is gorgeous. You could tell just some subtle differences, very subtle differences. I only caught it because it's paused, not in real time. Where they take it and they peel the energy up. They pull my feature, pulled a little bit lower than everybody else, but he's the feature. He can do what he wants. He can freaking roll on the floor, which they've already done. He can do that, and I wouldn't care. This is awesome. The rotation down, but also, oh my God, look at the symmetry. Look at the mirrors between the guys. Oh my God, this is a even number formation dream. I'm loving this. So you have, you know, your levels here, right? You also have it even. They're properly spaced, and you can tell with my lower level, there is equal spacing between your center and your outside guide. So it actually creates windows for your second row, so it doesn't feel too condensed. I mean, they could if they wanted to, but they're not going for that. They're going for beauty of symmetry and balance. Love it. God, it's so good. They take the hands. I love that the subtlety there, really nice. It matches what they did on the ground, but I liked seeing that here in the course. It feels really fun, very enjoyable. Nice little heartbeat, but notice they're taking that chest and pushing it up to the corner and digging to the other side. Ooh, I love that choice as well. Really fun new feature. And then here, of course, would be your first time where you actually see somebody covered up. We're going to see how many counts. Probably takes about an 8 count, if that. But I love the fact that everybody's taking their hands and moving it to the side. And I love the outlier of the knees here. Yeah, da 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 da. Now, a lot of people may not have the inner thigh stability to do that. For me, I mean, the feet themselves are not correct in the terms of if you were to do something called a grand plie in ballet, but the type of control needed to do something like that would be very helpful if you did bar work in ballet. Like that kind of, if you've ever taken ballet, you would know this, right? You know exactly what that feeling is when you try to go from a demi-plie to a grand plie. That's what that mess is right there. And that is impressive that they have the stability in the core for him to sing while doing that. Excuse me, sir. That's impressive. The quickness right there kind of feels like they were dialing, right? Yeah, they take the rotation, they swing it out. Love that. Great core. They have to use the core. I love that. Dee. But then you have our center. He has a more, you know, conversational approach. They take the syncopation. Da. Very quick on the hands, but it's so nice to see from the tension. Then they dig it through. Boom. Accent with the shoulder. Super nice. And then they bring it over to the other side. Looks great. And they nice turnaround. Looks great. They come back in. I love the choice of the tilt of the head. Even the head tilt looks great here. There you have your new feature. So technically only took about maybe an 8 count and a half, but we have our feature coming out of it. So that was great. And they come back in, boom, notice that they have their head pushed a little bit more. This is one of our most sensual poses that we've seen so far. Definitely a tease, but they are fully clothed. And even in the music video, they are so. And also when you think context of what they're saying, it's definitely more of an internal struggle for them. You know, when you want somebody's phone call late at night, I mean, if you think about it in your own life, we gotta be careful. But also, like, when you think about it here, definitely justifies, like I said, the sensualness of, like, angsty emotional sensualness, you know, not playful, but more of a tease of some kind. But that's what naturally comes with this type of emotional baggage in real life. So, I mean, I am here for it. I truly am. I really love the interpretation of the choreography and how they showcase it in performance. It's a two-way street for that. And I love it here. They end up doing a really subtle trace using the back of the hands as they press it down. Really cool. I like that there. And notice that we have where my feature is directed to the side. it is very clear, and it really helps create a fun way to introduce a new feature without having to go from the center or from the outside. That is so fun. Get him right in the middle of the V. I love that choice, and it feels like he's truly controlling him as he comes up because of his weightiness of how he comes up is really well done. Everybody takes it, and they now transition. Nice little hop to transition out of that too. Ding ding. I love the quickness of the pose changes on that, and then we have people hanging out in the back. You can tell that this feels like a logistical choice. I mean, you have one guy here, one here, 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 here. Gut tells me he may need to be mirrored with my guy here because he's in my front center, but we're going to see in context what happens. I'm just curious because this is the first time where the formation isn't like squeaky clean in the symmetry with somebody in the middle. Oh, okay, we get it all nice and clean there. So you could tell with just that choice, he ends up moving back and he moves a little bit forward to get them both on the same line. But notice it only took him about 4 counts, and they were very smart to calibrate those movements to get into that. Doom, doom, boom. They hit it, that move right there, on one leg to get it to that place. Doom, rotating it around. Then they slide it down. I love this little digit action happening with the fingers. Super fun. They hit it through a fun little ball change. They take that torso and they teeter it over. Oof. I like that choice right there. Da, da, da. I love it. Normally people do like a kick step touch. From there they made it more legato, so they kept contact with the floor the whole time with that moment there. Yeah, so they go da, da, da. So they didn't like a kick, kick, kick. It's like a really quick kick, a step, and then they step it, and then they drop. Really fun. He takes it through, boom, and then we take it a nice little, I've heard it called a couple things. There's like a crab variation if you want to like legato it a little bit. There's also called Bobby Brown. For this, I mean, you can even go so far as just a heel toe variant too. I mean, there's so many different names. It just depends on the context of the style of the choreo you're going for. I love that there. So it has a little accent happening on the tail end of every move that they do. I love the head there. It looks super nice. I love that dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. And they go in the transition. Look at the direction choice. Looks great. And then you have your feature. He goes and turns and faces the front. I love that. Da-da-da-da-da. Then right there he has it. So they have a nice, I like his wordplay, but I like the fact that he has this hand showcasing like a phone, little pot of berets to get us to transition, but the accent, I really like that. So notice it's more isolated. It feels like we've double timed some of our choices in sequences and how we're building up our energy. It feels like we have a quicker turnaround time, not as much time to think through a lot of our choices. And I like that. It's definitely through the density of content, it's allowed us to feel like we're building some sense of energy in the concept, unlike the beginning. And that is a very, very well done move by the choreographer. I love that. And also notice here, you could tell, let me see, he's technically in my center, and you have one of my guys that's off. So this would be honestly one of the first times we're seeing the formation where by adding another person, it would feel balanced. So this feels subtly off balance, but it's simply because my feature is directly in the middle. We have 3 people on one side and 2 on the other, but because they did not set up the first minute of the choreography with any inclination of that at all, it's harder for my brain to catch something like that than if I saw that in the very beginning. And I think that was one thing that I may have run into problem-wise with Ives Heya. I liked a lot of the choreo, but there's a chance that because they had those types of things happening in their formation in the beginning, it allowed my brain to become more sensitive to it. But in this case, I was captivated by the usage of levels through the even numbers. It allowed me to have more subconscious grace when you do have an off-balance formation. You know, it feels more intentional, not a we didn't follow through and think through this part, because I see the thoroughness of the preparation of the choreography up until this point, and the content speaks for itself in competency, in captivation by itself when it stands on its own 2 feet too. Turning it through, I love that as well, because if you notice, you have your feature. He goes, he expands it up and over. It allows those 3 to go up and over with the switching of the bevel, and then you have your other 2 with the shoulder rolls and drop. So notice in that case there, that helps me overlook that formation a little bit more graciously, not just because of how they showcase the formations in the beginning, but also because they chose to use a fun, different way to create dynamics in the breakage of the formation and make it work to their advantage. So you're not, I wouldn't call it distracted, but you're able to digest it in a different way. They're guiding you on what to look at instead of, okay, I have unison going on and we're in a formation. Like, they're guiding me more so in what they want me to focus on. And that makes it a lot easier from somebody who's just a general audience member, or even somebody who, for me, I've studied a lot of dance content in my day, and I'm still learning so much, and I'm so excited to continue looking at so much more content, especially from this group. I'm loving it. But even then, it's allowing me to find appreciation. And even though I know what to look for, they're making it hard for me to find discrepancies or things to critique. Does that make sense? But I'm not really here to critique it. I'm just here to appreciate it. But also, if there is something to note, we'll note it, of course. But there's really nothing crazy like that in this sense at all. God, in a one take, full cam dance practice, impressive. Golly. I like the subtlety there, the frozen, the stillness of everybody. He does a subtle little rotation of the hand. They all build the energy right back in. The nice little dip there, and then notice the syncopation of the legs. The heel to heel toe, pick it up, and then they're about to pull right there. Love it. Pick it up. Nice shift of the quickness, just like you saw the quickness of the arms into something more legato intense. Exactly what they did there, where they transferred the energy over to the legs, and then they pulled with those hips. Love it. I like also with that, you still have your feature. Boom, he's guiding us on what to focus on, but I love that everybody, it's not quite a call and response, but everybody's on the same page on how they're going to accent on that note. Really fun. He goes back in, and then right here, new reveal. You have my guy right here in center. He's the one that's moving the least because he's the clearest in frame. Everybody else is moving and grooving. So I like that choice. So everybody's taking a very dramatic, drastic range choice in the transition all the way across the floor. Looks great. And then everybody does a speed change. So the aggressiveness is not really, balanced, yeah. Symmetrical, no. So, he's still teetering in the center, but because of the drasticness of the formation, I'm still recovering from that transition between my sides, and I like that. And we're going into the speed change, and I'm admiring the speed change. And notice from here you have your feature. I really like that choice. Looks great. They take it up, dun, dun. They take it and they grab that forearm and they bring it down. Looks great here. I liked with the shaking of the hands, bringing it in. And notice for him, he creates his own little path, comes in and comes right through. So it makes it feel like it's intentional where they are in the formation. And I like that everyone is, we got 2 of them facing one direction, you got 4 of them facing another direction, but you have one of them that is an outlier facing out. So honestly, if you think about it, it does look like you have a formation here, and these guys are hanging out in the windows of the spaces. It's just slightly different. Then you have your feature that's walking through the extra space given between these 2 guys. They leave so much room in a great way for beauty in the choices. Like, it allows me to find some creative freedom on why they may have made the choice, and it feels comforting, and there's a lot of connection between it. It's just really nice. The tension there, and then once again we have a little angsty moment that ties in that beginning. We haven't forgotten it. It's just a little fingerprint, a little reminder. Just like time can heal a lot of things, but sometimes there's still feelings that you feel. No matter how much time has passed, it kind of gives that little reminder of the subtlety of that choreographic moment from the beginning. Oh, I love that. Ba, da, da, da. And here's your jump. And then once again, you have your feature that was finishing up, and your next feature who did not do the jump but still did the rotation. What I'm clocking is he's finishing up and he's about to be my feature. Just because I saw the music video and performance version does not mean that I remember who is what feature when. I still don't know these boys really at all. Bingo. Golly. Oh, I'm getting like... I just feel so, I feel so, I'm getting filled. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like I'm learning so much because part of me is verbally processing through what we're watching. I don't just know all of this. Does that make sense? Like, as we're looking, I'm figuring it out as I'm looking at it with you guys, and it's allowing me to really appreciate what they're doing because it's forcing me to think, okay, what about this is cool? I'm asking myself, why is this cool? Ah, this reminds me of this vocab term, or this timbre structure, or this musical, you know, context. And that could be a reason why. And that helps me appreciate it more, you know? Oh man, this is really nice. So you're right here into your feature. And then of course you have, this is where it's just subtly not balanced once again, not really symmetrical, but because of how they have the subtlety of the choreo, everyone's holding it down very well. D, and then bring it to the other side. More subtle. I think there was more discrepancies in their choices here, but notice we're about 2 minutes in of the actual choreography, and this is the first time I'm seeing a movement quality difference, which is very, very impressive. The pull through is nice. This is also the first time we've had like a huge unison section that's longer than 4 counts. You know, 4 to 6 counts. Normally they teeters around there and then they do something dynamically different. That was a unison section over halfway through, and I love it because unison is just as beautiful as overly complex dynamics, but it's fun to have a balance of both, and I love that we get to see that. And then we're right here back into the formation we saw before, but because it's so beautiful and captivating and easy to digest, you want to appreciate the beauty of it again, because part of what makes it so fun to look at is just how clean it is, because normally as humans we're so known for individuality, at least in the Western, like in America, we really strive for individuality, right? And so seeing people that showcase that degree of I'm my own person, but also they have such unity in their movement as one, it's just so fascinating, and it's so impressive, because it's a lot of perseverance, grit, and hard work to be able to get so many people on that same page. That's why 17 is as captivating as they are, because of the number in which they have and how they're able to use that to their advantage. And I would extend the same courtesy to Astro for sure. And because I've marathoned the boys, I can include them as well. They're very well known for that degree of implicitness, especially over the years. I've noticed it in more recent years especially. It's really fun to watch. I love that with the rock right there with the tap. Oh, so fun. And then I like how he takes it and makes a little moment with that arm to make it an outlier. Super nice. He goes little bedtime vibes right there. And then you have, it's a different guy right now in the front. I think they kind of flip-flopped it, right? He has a really fun dee-dee-dee. He adds a little something to it. It's fun. I like it. Bring it through dee-dee-dee-dee. And he takes it, boom. He has a little ticking or strobing moment within that. I would say probably with how sharp it felt, I kind of feel like he was ticking it, because with strobes you want to keep it tense the whole time, but it's a sequence of stops more than a sequence of pops. So and based on how staccato everybody else was, I would say ticking is going to be more resonative with how he executed it just then. They get through really fun seeing that choice. Nice rotation around with a little sweep, and then new reveal, new feature, doom, they take it, and they're going to take those arms, bring them up. Great shoulder range for them, because if some of them have their head up and some have it really far over, that's going to showcase and factor into who has shoulder flexibility and who has shoulder stiffness. And in this case, no one looks like they're really struggling. And I would say the only two that I can really see a difference would be my guy here and my guy here, right? But that would be really the only big thing I noticed. But then once again, we have the tension there. Boom, we sit there. Love that. Move over. I like that. Dude, now right here, it feels like we're doing like the most subtle chill Bernie in the world into a lean with it, rock with it. You know what I mean? This is the most, it's not even unhinged. It just feels the most like out of pocket thing that they're doing. But I love it because it's so different and allows you to hit and resonate with what he's saying in a completely different way. And call and they go, hey, call in response. So you go, da-da-da-da-da, hey, da-da-da-da, hey. So I like the fact that we have choreography that reflects what's going on in the music, because it helps me resonate with that part of the music better, because I have a visual that showcases those two things happening. And this with a snap, oh, they hit it. And they take the arm. Oh my God, I love it with the rotation of the arm on that. And then I like that my feature is complementing it too. It's like he's controlling them, but the range on everybody was top tier on that. That was gorgeous. Take it through once again, very angsty, boom. Very similar position like what we saw in the very beginning. Looks great. Then he takes it through, rotates it around. Now, in order to do this move, notice that we do have their leg that's fully extended. Some of them have it up a little bit too high. So it kind of alters what the illusion is supposed to be. What they're doing is they're taking the back arm that you don't see. That's where their weight is going, and they're catering their weight more towards that side of the hip as well. And that's what's causing the rotation to take place. If you want to see other K-pop groups that have done it, you can see it in the boys. They've done it in their danger set specifically I do remember it there. The very first time I personally have ever seen it was done by Fiction of World of Dance during one of his freestyle moments or sets. I think he was wearing like a cat shirt, I think, right? It was Chang Hang Lo, that particular one. He's the first one that I saw do it. Is he the first person to do it? Probably not. But it does stick out to me in that way. And so when I see other people do it, I have used it before. It's a really fun tool. I use it this year on some of my younger dancers. It's just a fun tool to create a fun illusion, but also learning how to, the importance of where your weight goes can influence how something comes across. So I love the fact that we got to see that. It was a fun little moment to initiate on that sound in a different way. Then you have a new feature come up. He comes right back down, very seamless. They go, they step. Oh. And this part right here is so fun. So you have a new feature. He's creating this fun moment. What they're doing is they're progressing down. So it goes here, bump, and then what they're going to do is they're going to let that elbow take the reins, and they have to make sure their core is in control. Boom. So they're right there on the arm. Very similar position like what we saw earlier in the diagonal. No, not in the diagonal. Whenever they were all reset more facing this way, but it just looks different and how it's progressed is different. And then you had a different feature that was up too. And then from here, they're going to do the snap again, go onto their backs. Oh, and then they do a little hug for themselves. And then you have another feature slowly come up. Everybody is very intentional on how frozen they are. So when a new feature comes in, it's not distracting. Then he's grabbing him as a little assist. I appreciate even the intention of how we're framing with the arm. It's really nice. It's not a dead hand. Also, oh my God, look at that hand with that hand. Oh, gorgeous, feels very complimentary, and there's levels represented. You have a standing, you have a kneeling, and you have a floor. I love that. Super cool. And then from here, it makes me intrigued. What's about to happen? He goes and assists one of them, but the other three come up, and they have to commit to the same degree that my guy who's actually being assisted by the previous feature, that has to make sure it makes sense. So I love the fact that they're committing to the same degree, and then you have your other feature that has his arm up with some breath behind it, so it allows it to match the same range and energy that just came up from the floor. Oh, this is so fun. And then they come up in a bridge recover once again. Notice they're turned out ever so slightly, but they are above average in comparison to other groups I've seen do that particular bridge recover. I love it. Looks great. He goes and he's having an angsty moment in the corner by the door. You do you, my guy. Then you have this little connection right here. And then this to me is a little cringe, and I wonder if he feels that way. But I totally understand the fan moment this can be. Turns it around. It does look like he's about to bite his neck. So if they went Dracula, it wouldn't surprise me. But I like how they all set out the importance of all this. It's a good night. Ooh. They go, they come back in, and then, so that transition is literally about 1 count basket run. We'll leave it alone. When I see a basket run for an 8 count, it's a wasted opportunity. In this case, it was a perfect way to utilize a basket run. 1 count, we're done. We've transitioned, we've moved on. Love it. From here, I know with some of them have it in a fist and some have it extended. For me, it was so subtle. Everybody accented the fingers when it needed to, so that I had no qualms with that. Subtlety of that is gorgeous. The subtlety, ooh, some of them brushed their hair. Everyone made a different choice. I was like, yo, I love that. But everybody had a breath involved. Even though they made different choices in extremities, they had the same texture in the torso. Gosh, that's so fun. And then everybody drops down. So instead of doing that like a isolated grand plie accent, they just said, we're going for it all the way to the knees on the other side. So that's why that felt slightly different. They're facing a different direction as well than facing to the, I think it was to stage left, but now they're on stage right. And then once again, he's doing a subtle trace. This is so subtle, but then you have a lot of tension that's being built up with everybody else's arms because they're brushing it back when you have our feature brushing it forward. Ooh. And look at the formation choice too. It's very creative. You have your group of 2 and then your group of 3 and then you have your feature in the center. I love the fact that we are entertaining what's going on in the corners, right? On both sides. The staging and spacing and level justification and all of this is top freaking tier. This is a beautiful format. And if I saw this format on every K-pop group, I would have so much fun, you know, because there's so much creativity, not just in the content development, in the concept justification, like I've said, but there's so much thoughtfulness in not just the choreographer, but in the full the full arrangement of it all. I think like the team. of this is just really, really well done. I hope they treated them well. I'm going to assume yes, because a lot of them renewed with the company. But when I say I'm having a wonderful time looking at this, it is a complete understatement. This is so enjoyable. I love the pull through there, and then they take it. They're now ready to prep through, and then right there they have to leverage their weight. Of course, some of them still have their leg propped up, and they have it sliding through. But the only person who had his leg up was my new feature. Like, that is so freaking impressive that they are so thorough in their extremities and how they're getting in and out through their actual movements before the transition, that it allows me to catch the feature before the feature is featured, but not in a way where it's like, oh, they need to blend in more. It's I'm seeing right before they're supposed to be shown, but in a like foreshadowing way. In like the cleanest way you can possibly do it. Like, it's such a complimentary thing for me to say in that way. Like, I love it. And then you have your 4 that are down. You're about to have your previous feature go down to join. Oh my gosh. And they have it all nice and propped up over to the side. So they're showing a different vantage point of what we've seen of that particular setup, because we normally see it horizontal, like the full body facing us, but now it's just the feet facing us, and then the rest of their upper body is teetered to the side. I love that. And then you have your feature that's up, more props in a crouching position that justifies it with his upper body too. And they take a nice little breath moment and little swivels just like they've done earlier. Accent there. Oh my god, this is incredible. The pull through, turning it. Oh my gosh. And then we have a little body roll. Goodness, guys. So they take it and then they travel it. They establish the groove and then they make it their own. Wow. New feature joined in. Yeah, that's probably one of the most sensual choices they made, but it's so well done. Wow. Bringing it through. I like they all come up at the same time. New feature. Let's go! Take it with the throw. I love this breakdown. Like, golly, I've been talking about this routine for a long time, and I knew that was going to happen. This is awesome. Look at the not levels, but look at the direction choices. I like in the middle line, they're on the outside, they face the inside, and then my back row faces the inside. I started noticing this formation structure during Street Woman Fighter Season 1, and I really liked it. It was so intriguing for me, and so it's nice to see it in overlap with other formations, because it's inspiring to myself, because I never really thought to go for a mirrored choice, but alternate which way you mirror. Like, that's super fun, and it is trickier to do, but I really like the choice a lot. Notice the pickup. Oh my god, the transition was brutal there. Let me go back and talk about that real quick. Yeah, they take it. Boom, the range. Notice they're using that back and they're throwing that energy down. Great range on that. But notice they take it and they condense it to the arms in order to allow the legs to become a focal point. They kick, then they let that leg shoot out, and then they pull the torso back to help match where that leg's going. That leg turns into a physical fixed point that is fixed on the ground. It is not in the space. It is on the ground, and they allow the leverage of the upper body to really make that happen. And the transition is so incredible there. Just going from their formation and completely flip-flopping it. That is very well done on everybody. New feature. And he's over on the side. They take it. They turn through. Really love the turn on that. They tuck those arms. They tap it out right there on the sound. I hear it. Clear as day. The swing. Love that little suave position with the crossover of the feet. Looks great with the head nod. Then from here, nice little groove that they're doing. So you can add a little body roll if you wanted to make that feel more legato. But I like the two-step with the heaviness of that. Boom, boom. There's not really heavy bass to really justify a more grounded approach. So I actually appreciate the transition and keeping it still with the bounce, but not super heavy with the upper body. I think it's very fitting how they chose to approach it. I like that. Very, all itemized. They all doing their own thing. I like it. They go and they branch it away. You have two people that are harmonizing together. One singing the lyricism. One is doing more of an ad-lib choice. I love that. And then they all branch out, creating a nice little square. Notice all of this doesn't make me think I have an even number group. Like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is so fun. They take it, they expand it, they swing those arms to the outside. They come back in, they go, they hop it. I love that. And they go and they take their hands. It's very similar to this hand that we saw earlier. They say, pick up the phone, girl. And they switch it over. They step, simple steps there. Take the hand over. Unison in this part, but even then, boom, boom. They take the next move to transition to a new spot. in levels, and now it's more of a clumped position and they're all leveled up. Notice that we have somebody lying on the floor, but we have this outlier of the bend of the knee happening if somebody's standing. I think they have their, I don't know if they're taller members or anything like that, but notice how they have the formation. They have of somebody standing. You have these two are pretty much doing the same thing, but one of them's further back, so it feels like one group is closer, but they also spaced it to where it creates a really nice line and finish with what's going on with my other guy. So I like that we have, this is such a fun little clumpy pose and finish, truly. Wow. This, you know what's so crazy is that I spent about this amount of time on the other one I just looked at, but talking about very different things. And I think it's so fascinating to see the beauty and the importance of both, because I really liked the other choreography I just looked at, which was Ives Heya. If you hadn't seen that, like I mentioned, I highly implore you to look at that so you really know the context I'm coming in this, that I'm truly coming off of. Because in that one, there was a lot of like, I had to go up to bat for the girls because there was a lot of people who were criticizing that choreography, so I really felt the need to, you know, really advocate for the beauty of what it is, you know? And then in this case, I feel they don't need my advocacy for this at all, because I don't really see many people who would have issues with this from a cleanliness standpoint, a texture standpoint, a genre justification standpoint, the concept bringing forth through the choreography, the fact this was done in a one take. This was phenomenal, and the fact that I got to see it on 3 different particular video formats I just had a great day. So we're all gonna say a big ol' thank you to Chris for the fact that we got to take a look at this. Boy howdy, this was awesome. Wow, so much fun with this, and I am excited to take a look at more content from my Patreon. I have a tier called In the Pocket, and I have a tier called On the Flip Side. Both of them have guaranteed reaction requests every month. If that's something, if you want to be like Chris and recommend amazing content like this, those are perfect places to get started. But if you're totally fine with letting others do that, and hopefully one of the ones that you really enjoy gets selected, but also any marathons that I partake in, any analysis that I do, I hope you're able to enjoy them as they come out on YouTube. But if you want in on the action as I make them and as I edit them in real time, Patreon is the perfect place to be a part of that, like this video. So once again, my name is Jess. I appreciate you so much for making it to the end. This is a long one, but such a good one. And I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.